You've probably heard of Andrew Tate by now. If his name doesn't ring a bell, you definitely know his face. The MMA fighter turned YouTuber recently went viral for a few of his extremely misogynistic and problematic views. A lot of people are very hurt and angry that he's been given a platform repeatedly. The question still remains though, why hasn't he been cancelled yet? Let's look at this and more in this video. First, who is Andrew Tate? Like we said, you've probably heard of him and seen his snippets of interviews circulating around the internet. But we need to look at who this guy is first. The British native got his start by kickboxing and quickly moved to America with his brother Tristan to pursue it. In 2009, he stood at #1 in Europe in the 2009 International Sport Karate Association (ISKA) Full Contact Cruiserweight Championship. After his career took off, he branched out to other stuff too, like YouTube, and it looks like it's been working pretty well for him, except for one thing. It looks like he's almost violently misogynistic. Other than frequently appearing on podcasts and running his YouTube channel Tate Speech, Tate also offers classes on his website on male-female interactions and on how to get rich quickly, and these seem pretty extreme. However, this is not the only way that he makes his money. The internet personality owns not 1, not 2, not 10, but 15 casinos in Romania. Can you imagine that? The guy's loaded and probably worth over $250 million right now, which is definitely a lot. His extravagant lifestyle and car collection has attracted a lot of male fans recently, and Andrew Tate now has almost 3 million followers on his Instagram. It's pretty disturbing to think that a lot of young, impressionable teenagers follow him, especially after you look at all the things that he's said and done. Next, let's look at a few of the things that Tate has said, which should definitely get him canceled. Tate has his fair share of controversies that should rightfully get him canceled. Before YouTube and his internet fame though, Andrew Tate was known for getting kicked out of the UK TV show Big Brother after a video of him assaulting a woman with a belt resurfaced. Even though he was removed from Big Brother in 2016, the video dates back to 2012. Andrew Tate addressed these claims though, and he said that this whole video was staged and completely consensual role play too. He said that the girl was actually laughing in the end, and that's why there was no sound. Tate also mentioned that they were using a felt belt, and this one only makes noise and doesn't hurt. Still, this whole thing was pretty damaging, and he got kicked out of Big Brother UK. This isn't the only problematic thing that Andrew Tate has done though. In 2017, when the Me Too movement started, he said some pretty disgusting things. Even though he condemned sexual harassment in a tweet, he said that a man looking at you or whistling at you or asking your name isn't harassment. This is pretty crazy because it makes it seem like men are entitled to a woman's body, and it sort of trivializes the whole movement. This isn't even the worst of it though. Tate ended up getting a lot of publicity, and a lot of people actually ended up agreeing with the man. As you can see, this is quite literally insane because his career should have ended right then. Even though a lot of people were outraged and people tried to boycott and cancel him, things went back to normal for him, especially because he wasn't super active on social media except for Twitter around this time. He also said that women bear some responsibility if they are raped, which is just extremely disturbing. What's worse is that he felt like he could openly tweet it without any backlash. Even though Twitter suspended his account after this, he was still allowed to make multiple accounts, one of which even got verified. Next, let's look at a viral video that was making rounds on the internet. Like we talked about before, Tate has a few very misogynistic views on what women should do and how they should act. In one interview with a Twitch streamer, he said he would never let his girlfriend go to the club alone, just because he's scared that she'd find someone else. He also compared her to a car, which is pretty weird. In his own exact words, he said that, "You don't park your girl on the curb of the club. The fact that he's even allowed to say these things on public platforms again and again is kind of insane, especially when things like this violate rules of hate speech that most social media sites have, especially YouTube, where most of his podcast interviews are uploaded. It's not just the things that he's said about women and his views on their positions in society, but it's also the way that Andrew Tate talks about them. In one of the first few videos on his YouTube channel, Tate on Women, he talked about how modern or Western women are just setting themselves up for disrespect and some more really gross things. In many of his interviews, Tate raises his voice and becomes very violent and angry, only verbally, of course. Along with this, his body language shows that he's insanely confident, which is pretty scary. In another debate that was uploaded on Standout TV on YouTube, he's constantly seen interrupting the woman, Chia, and raising his voice, while she remains relatively calm the whole time. There's a lot of other problematic stuff that he said in this interview-style debate. We won't get into all of that right now, but let's see why Andrew Tate, of all people, remains uncancelled so far. So why hasn't Tate been cancelled yet? Giving people like him a platform is definitely a huge part of the reason that Tate still hasn't been cancelled, and has a large number of people, mostly males, looking up to him. When he's given platforms like Twitter and YouTube, he constantly talks about his misogynistic views. On these same platforms, people can agree with him and validate these views. Even though free speech is great, it's definitely common sense not to blatantly disrespect a certain group on social media. Now, you've probably heard the phrase, all publicity is good publicity, and this definitely rings true for Tate. Even though he got a lot of backlash across TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch, there's always a noticeable minority of people who agree with him and support him. Even though this group is definitely very small, it's still pretty insane how Tate manages to reach people who are like-minded, and this definitely helps him stay on certain social media platforms. Even though he's been wrapped up in many controversies because he violated the rules of hate speech, somehow he always gets his account back and is allowed to post again, which is literally insane. Even Tate himself has talked about why he thinks he'll never get cancelled. On a Twitch stream with his brother Tristan Tate, he straight up said that he doesn't give a if people try to cancel him. The point that he was making in the video was that you can only cancel people who care about their public image, and said that people should cancel his brother instead. In the stream, he literally dares feminists to try and cancel him, and says it just won't work because he doesn't care. Tate also said that another reason he won't get canceled anytime soon is because he lives in a world outside of Discord and other social media. He seems pretty confident in the video and even laughed about it, but only because he can afford to. Clearly, this whole social media thing is a side hustle for him, and no matter what, he's going to be secure because of the other money that he makes. This is a pretty big reason why Tate doesn't actually suffer, because of the comments he makes publicly. Now, moving on to some other social media related news. YouTube tightens its guidelines on misinformation. After the overturning of Roe v. Wade, YouTube has strictly stated that they'll take a stand against any videos spreading false information about abortion, because many people will want to seek credible information online. This was definitely necessary, because some people in favor of the overturning were desperate to take advantage of this chaotic and confusing situation, and repeatedly spread misinformation. Let's hope they actually stay consistent with this. Next, Hasan and Tate might debate. That rhymed. One of the most popular political commentators on Twitch extended an invitation to Tate so they could have a debate where they discuss Tate's controversial opinions. HasanAbi thinks that realistically speaking, Tate wouldn't accept the invitation. Others think that Tate won't shy away from a confrontation like this. Do you think he'll accept? Finally, Twitch is making some good changes. The streaming platform has been misused quite a bit, but it looks like they're finally listening to users. Now they'll give us information on banned users, and this will definitely be super helpful, especially because streamers can keep their communities safe from trolls and other harmful individuals. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Tate will remain uncancelled forever? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.